Joining us now from our New York bureau for an in-depth discussion on Uganda is Paul LeGendre, Director of the Fighting Discrimination Program at Human Rights First. Mr. LeGendre, we're pleased to have you here. Welcome to In Focus.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Right. Now, Uganda, under the leadership of Yoweri Museveni, has been considered by some as a very stable country over the past 25 years and has achieved certain economic benchmarks over that period of time. But in your assessment, how would you rate the human rights record of Uganda?
Well, it's true that there has been some progress, but it's important to note that there have also been a number of challenges on the human rights front. International and domestic monitors both have documented a wide range of human rights abuses over the years and over the last year. Some of those instances include politically motivated killings, torture and abuse, restrictions on the right to a fair trial, violence and discrimination against women and children, just to name a few. And of course, one of the areas that has gotten a lot of attention over the last year are the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex people, which are also fundamental human rights and have been seriously undermined over the last year. One instance very recently is the murder of David Kato, a prominent LGBTI rights activist that is of serious concern to the human rights community.
But most certainly we cannot confirm in any way that Mr. Kato, of course, was murdered, although he had been in, among those people who had been threatened somewhat through some incendiary media writings, but we cannot really confirm that he was murdered. The investigation is going on. But generally, talking about just the human rights of all Ugandans, would you say that there has been progress, regardless of what has happened recently, over the period, given that Uganda came from a state of war, many years of brutality? Would you say there has been some progress so far?
I think you can certainly say there has been progress, but it is important to look at the way in which domestic and international human rights organizations have reported on the violations, to outline steps that the government needs to be taking to address those violations so that the rights of all citizens in Uganda are protected. First and foremost, I think some of the challenges are ensuring that any violations around these elections are dealt with properly. But even after the elections, and hopefully the elections will be conducted in a way that people will feel that the results came after a free and fair election, but there are a whole host of human rights challenges that will face the next president and parliament, and some of those are the ones that I talked about earlier.
A number of people, I mean, really many people in the north were victimized by the 2 decades war waged by the LRA, and to some extent people have blamed the government of Uganda of not being able to stop those atrocities. What do you think has to be done in order to kind of bring some solace and comfort to the people of northern Uganda?
Well, the government needs to hold people accountable, needs to hold its own officials and forces accountable. It needs to stop practices of torture and abuse. It needs to guarantee rights to a free trial. It needs to bring justice to the injustices that occurred there while adhering to the rule of law and to fundamental norms of human rights.
The Ugandan government, but many times says, well, there's a lot of exaggeration of how the extent of some of these rights violation, that in some cases it's just to maintain peace in the country, especially when it comes to dealing with those who are perceived to be breaking the law. What's your response to that?
Well, maintaining peace, one of the ways to maintain peace is to respect human rights. If you look at the various reports that have been conducted, the State Department of the United States, for one, has a 25-page report on human rights concerns. Going forward, peace is important, but peace can't be achieved without adhering to fundamental human rights principles, and the government, while having made some progress, has some ways to go and needs to look at the violations, respond to them individually, develop programs that respect human rights going forward.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Mr. LeGendre. Thanks a lot for joining us today on In Focus. Yes, that is Mr. Paul LeGendre of Human Rights First in New York.